Hey guys, sorry in advance. I'm feeling a little sick and I'm also in the gym, so there very well could be some interruptions. But I wanted to get this video out. This is actually my second time filming this. I lost the footage the first time, and I wanted to make sure to get this to everybody before the first week of the Open was over. So timing is good to do this. But I wanted to take some time to talk to everyone about the Open, what your training weeks should look like, what you guys should expect to feel. We had quite a few people who posted some questions, so I wanted to address those. I'm going to try to go in order, first talking about our competitive athletes and people who follow our TST program, and then touch base on some stuff that people who take classes at Soul have asked. There's definitely some carryover and a lot of similarities between the two groups. So people who just take classes but are very serious about their fitness can definitely learn some things from things that we'll talk about in regards to TST and vice versa. So the most popular question I actually got it twice from TST people and twice from people in the gym, is how much effort and how much focus they should put on the Open. In regards to our TST folks, I would say that realistically, the people who this is most important for on the highest level for competitors are people who have the potential to qualify for the games via the Open. So if you have the potential to be top 30 in the world or be a national champion, those are the folks that this is going to be most important for. So what should that look like if that's you? If that's you, which realistically it's very few of you, you should cater your whole week, your entire schedule around setting yourself up for success for the Open. So what does that mean? That means picking the time and day that's going to be most ideal for you to be successful in your first and or second attempt. That means planning your work, your family schedule, your eating schedule, the rest of your training week around those 1 or 2 days. I know some people don't love to plan for repeats, and repeats are something that are not ideal for anyone, but is a very realistic part of our sport for people who are very competitive. So I think it's very important to potentially plan for repeats for those of you guys who have the potential to be national champions or have the potential to be top 30 in the world or very close to it. So again, how much effort should you put into it? I think it's very relative. Regardless, when the clock starts, those workouts are released, you should give your maximal effort 100% of the time. You should not just, coast it in and mail it in. You should give as much of your effort as you possibly have, regardless of the structure of the workout or regardless of what your goals are. The second question is I think how you should structure things depending on what your personal goals are. If you're taking classes and your goal is to be the fittest in the gym or the fittest in your group of friends, I think it's the same thing. I think you should take it very seriously, with the exception of not planning to do second attempts. Here in the gym, unless, again, you have the potential to qualify for things, we do not advocate, and we really don't allow people to take second attempts on open workouts. We don't have repeats on Mondays. We don't have repeats on Sundays. It's kind of like a one and done deal for us, where we want to put a great deal of effort into creating a great experience for our clients. However, everything should not revolve around the Open, if that makes sense. Another question I got is, what should your training look like day to day? So we have a program where it's called our handling program, where we design people's programs based on what their goals are, based on their schedules, their strengths, their weaknesses, etc. And if you're enrolled in one of those programs, your coach is already doing that for you. Again, depending if you have the potential to qualify as a national champion or top 30, you should be tapering for the Open. If not, honestly, it doesn't really matter. Your fitness on the days leading up to the Open workout, which should be Friday, so that really means like Wednesday and Thursday, should be at lower intensities. So if you took classes this week here at Soul, you noticed on Wednesday we did a partner workout that was sled with a carry and some bike. The intensities were not that low, but the overall volume was low, and we were able to offset that by doing it with a partner. today in the gym, if you came today, which is Thursday, and you planned on doing the workout on Friday, it's a workout that consists of running and planks. So the effort is there, but the overall volume is low. What you have to consider in the open is the rate of contractions is normally very high. There's a great deal of high repetitions in most open workouts, and your level of intensity is very high. And that's what gets you sore, is the combination of those two things. We can move intensely, but if the volume is pretty low, you may not end up that sore. You can move at great volumes, but if your intensity is low, you may not be that sore. It's the combination of the two that really does people in. And Dave Castro and CrossFit HQ have done a phenomenal job over the years of featuring very simple, what I call non-noisy workouts, where people can normally push really hard. Not all of them, but most of them, where people can push really hard, and that's what normally wrecks them. So you have to structure your week and your training around that, keeping that into consideration. Moving on, there's a few other points on that I wanted to touch base on. Planning for repeated exposure. So if you consider CrossFit, right? Like, we all love to think that CrossFit is such a complete training program, and it is. Sorry guys, I had some technical difficulties there, but we'll move on. So something to consider as well is CrossFit in nature, we all love to think is like the most complete training program, and in comparison to many other training programs, it really is. However, it really moves in one plane. We do a lot of squatting, we do a lot of pressing, and we do a lot of pulling in CrossFit. But we don't do a lot of lateral moving in CrossFit. We don't do a lot of different planes of pulling in CrossFit. And as a result, the same chain and the same muscle groups tend to take the brunt of the damage, and or the same muscle groups that oftentimes get sore. And again, if you consider these CrossFit workouts, or these open workouts rather, where you're repeating the same, maybe not the same exact exercises, but the same moving patterns over and over and over again, you really have to consider what the rest of your training is going to look like in order to set yourself up for success. So for example, let's say you hit an open workout and you realize that, and again, this is for my competitors, that you're more than likely going to have to repeat it again, so it would be a second effort. For some people, unfortunately, it even comes to it being a third effort. And you know, your anxiety is getting the best of you. You feel like you have to do more for your fitness. You definitely want to, you know, give your best effort in the open. So, you know, you have your first effort on Friday. You train again on Saturday. You're going to repeat it again on Sunday or Monday. The biggest mistake you can do is to come in and make yourself train on Saturday. The best thing you can do is rest, recover, stretch, find a sauna, take an ice bath, consider a contrast bath, get some therapy done. If you absolutely feel like you have to do something, some very low effort zone 1, zone 2 cyclical work, coming in to do some assistance work, but elevating your heart rate again and doing something that doesn't hurt, or doing something that open workout did not feature, and you start playing the game of trying to predict what's coming next and train some of those elements, is what is going to set you up for failure. Okay? When week 1 of the open starts, which is today, you are just as fit as you're going to be for these 5 weeks. You are not going to increase your level of fitness. The only thing you can do is put yourself at risk and cause more damage and risk of injury after week 1 starts. So please keep that in mind when you're considering repeating workouts. And as always, I would consult with one of our coaches on the floor. This question has come up a lot as well since CrossFit HQ has made these changes, getting rid of regionals and changing the structure of the games and the open, etc. Is who needs an off season and what should an off season look like? So traditionally, after our largest efforts of the year, which were regionals or the games or even the open, we would build in a pretty lengthy off season. And in that off season, we would take time and we would segment our training as much as we could, and we would emphasize, our aerobic capacity and getting stronger and moving better, and taking time away from mixed CrossFit and developing these other patterns and these other energy systems as well as we could, so that the closer we would get to our season, we would start to mix them, and as a result, be fitter and be better at CrossFit. Now with these big changes, honestly, we don't have the luxury to do that for most people. So our training model has changed considerably. And what we've done is we're building in small off seasons, these mini off seasons, to every single training cycle. And all of our training cycles are pretty much built around larger sanctioned events like Granite Games, like Wadapalooza, West Coast Classic, et cetera, et cetera. So we have these small off seasons built in, and we ramp up the closer we get to our peak for that training cycle. And throughout the year, we have smaller and smaller and smaller peaks that eventually build up to a larger event, which is our largest peak of the year. So for our training program, that tends to be Wadapalooza. Now, is that the case for everyone? No. Not everyone needs an off season. The folks that need an off season are, number one, people that are truly beat up, people that are giving their hardest effort, people that are competing in competitions year round. Those are the folks that we advocate off seasons for. Additionally, it's not important for all of those folks to participate in an off season. Again, it depends on what events they're going to pick, and you don't always have to be peaked for certain events. So if you're following our training program and you're wondering when is this off season coming, honestly, for many of you guys, you don't need it. If you're not qualifying for many of these sanctioned events and you're not training twice a day, it's not something we're really stressing many people to go through. Now, if you are a candidate for this, it's for someone who needs a longer off season. If you are a potential games athlete, if you've competed at the games before, if you are giving maximal effort at some of these sanctioned events in the higher divisions like an elite category, and you're treating that like your games or the peak of your season, an off season does need to be built in, and we can do that on a one-on-one basis for people in our handling or in our private design program. The next question I got, which is quite similar, is how do athletes prep for their training year? Like I said, sanctioned events has now become our large focus, and we understand that not everyone can travel to them, and that's okay, because we'll build those tests into our training program whether you're going to these events or not. So oftentimes we'll do simulations of many of these events based on the training cycle and based on what we're preparing for. So we're really doing that for a lot of people. Many folks are asking as well, how do they pick online qualifiers and what sanctioned events should I do? Look, I'm going to be very honest with you, and I have a great deal of insight on this because of my new position with Loud and Live Sports, being the competition director for 5 major sanctioned events. We're still in year 2 of these changes, and CrossFit HQ is still making changes, and honestly, much of it is not transparent for most people, and many of us are still very much in the dark of what's going on. We're kind of learning as we go. I hate to admit it, but that's just the cards that we've been dealt. So the best way to pick what qualifiers to do are looking at the history of the events that you want to qualify for, making sure that the program design is good, making sure the events run on time, making sure that they're events that are tangible, something that you can qualify for. And honestly, some of you guys might want to look outside of just competing in sanctioned events, because the majority of them only have elite divisions, and there's only so many people who have the capacity to qualify for those. So while I think it's dope that everyone wants to go around, doing many of these qualifiers, I think it's more relevant for people who are in the developing years of their CrossFit career to focus on maybe hitting more local competitions, doing qualifiers like the example of a very well-run event, and the programming is TFX. We had quite a few people did that, and we went out last year and we traveled to it. It's not a sanctioned event, but it was really good for the development of many of our athletes, and we had a very strong showing out there. Moving on to some in the gym questions. We also had some folks in the gym ask about doing repeats. We understand that there's quite a few people who have trained at other gyms previously, and some of those gyms may have, they may advocate doing repeats, and I just hate to break it to you, that's just not something that we advocate and we're not going to do here. If you do a workout on Friday and you want to come and repeat it Monday, there's just not going to be space for you to do that. We have limited space, we have limited equipment, and we do that purposefully. It's by design here at the gym. We purposefully only order certain pieces of equipment that is consistent with the size of the gym and the class cap. And no, we don't feel like the size of the gym limits us. We feel like we have a class. We've had a class cap since day one when we opened Soul, and that's something that again, it's not the size of the gym. We just don't want to run big classes. This is not a boot camp type of training facility. We are a high quality CrossFit gym, and we want to focus on limited groups and small groups of people at a time. And that's just what our model is. So really, there's not space and there's not room to do repeats, first and foremost. Secondly, it's just not something that we really get behind and advocate. So it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. If you unfortunately missed your first attempt on a Friday and the only option you have to come in on a Monday, we can't promise that there's going to be space. However, if you talk to one of the coaches before coming in and you plan that attempt, we will do our best to accommodate you. Unfortunately, the structure of the open, we don't even know what the workout is. In previous years, they've used the entire gym floor distance, handstand walking and lunging and rings over here and wall balls over there and toes to bar behind me. And we don't know what to expect and we don't know what to plan for until the workouts drop. So it's not something that we can answer right now. We never know what the workout is going to be. So a general rule of thumb is we do them Fridays, okay? We've had comments before about, oh, why can't I repeat them during this time? Or why can't I come in at another time and do them? Our gym is open 24 hours a day. The busiest classes of the day start in the afternoon, and those are the only times that you can't do those workouts. You have times throughout the weekend. Again, if you have hybrid access, you can come 24 hours a day to do these workouts. You just can't do second attempts on Mondays. Another question that came up, doing workouts scaled or as prescribed. We're doing something a little different this year. In previous years, we've said that if you come into the gym and you have the capacity to do almost every workout on the whiteboard or on Wodify as prescribed, do the open as prescribed. Do everything as RX. If you're the kind of athlete or client who has to scale many things in general classes, then we want you to do the whole entire open scaled. Why is that? Because we think it's important that you can compare yourself to people who have a similar capacity as you do. And if you're picking this workout to do scaled and this workout to do RX, you're not going to get your position on the leaderboard is not going to be consistent. We've done that for several years, and we want to make some changes to that rule this year. So this year, if a workout comes up RX and you can do it RX, we want you to push. We want you to push as hard as you can and perform that workout as RX. Don't be scared of the weights, but at the same time, you need to be safe and you need to be realistic. And the same thing goes for scaled people or scaled workouts. If you can't do something, you have scaled options. And if you have to scale those options even further, that's fine. Communicate with the coaches on the floor and he or she will help you guys do that. Okay? The last thing that I want to talk about, it's come up throughout the years, and I'm laughing because it's something valid, but it can be something silly, is how strict your judging should be in the gym. So for TST, your judging should be really fucking strict. And you guys need to be responsible for finding your own judges, and he or she should hold you to the highest standard. So I would not recommend asking your training partners, your friends, or your partners to judge you. It's usually a recipe for disaster. For folks that are just taking general fitness classes or regularly scheduled CrossFit classes, we want to hold a level of standard However, we're not here to punish people. And honestly, we do not hold the highest CrossFit HQ standards in our CrossFit classes. It's just not something that we do. If you have the capacity to do some of these workouts and you're pushing and the med ball doesn't touch the target every single time, I don't think it's the end of the world. Now, if it's something that's consistent, it definitely has to be addressed. So like, I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm judging someone doing wall balls, and let's say it's Karen, 150 wall balls for time, and on the ball touches the target every single rep, and we're at rep 38. Boom, it hits on 38, and they go for 39, and it grazes or gets very close but doesn't quite make contact with them. I'll tell my athlete, hey, you're getting close, and I'll still count it. And if they do it again and they don't hit, I'll say no rep. But I want everyone to use no reps as a tool to help set your teammates and your training partners up for success, not a way to punish them or flex on them or try to teach them a lesson. That's not what they're for, and that's not what we're here for. So just keep that in mind. We want to use those tools to help elevate each other, not necessarily to teach each other lessons, if that makes sense. Thanks for all the questions that you guys asked. I love that you guys are engaging, and I can do stuff like this and participate with you all when I'm not here as often as I was previously. So keep up the good work. I'm really stoked on everyone. I'm super pumped at the hard work that our coaches have been putting into the intramural teams. I think it's something that's very important. The changes that CrossFit HQ have made and them pulling off of social media, I think, has really hurt the buzz of the Open, to be totally honest. And it kind of breaks my heart to see that, because for some of you guys who are new to CrossFit or new to the Open, it's something that had a lot of magic surrounding it, and it does feel like it's flat. However, our coaches have done a phenomenal job at pumping life into the Open and still making it very relevant and important here within the doors of CrossFit Seoul. And that is exactly what a real community is like. The word community gets thrown around a lot in our circles, and the heartbeat of our community really lies, again, within these walls. And sometimes, to other gyms and other clients and other people, it does as well. But our number one priority is what happens here and what happens with you guys. And, I'm honored to lead our coaches who are leading you guys throughout this journey. So thank you very much. Thank you for participating. Good luck.